why are we still having this conversation about unemployment? And even worse, it is increasing. And can we do anything about it?
Well, I think to begin with, I don't want to minimize the hardship of Nigerians, but again, I go back to the statistics. I mean, I'm not sure precisely what the statistics are. I think what happens is that people who can't find their ideal employment find other avenues that they can kind of eke out an existence. So I don't want to rely on the official statistics, but I think that the basic perspective that we have is it's still just too difficult to do business. I mean, I run into people every single day who want to do things in Nigeria. I mean, particularly there are people within Nigeria, and particularly the diaspora have ideas they want to do in every sector. I mean, I had a conversation this morning with someone, for example, who wanted to do something in health, and yet it's still too difficult to do business in Nigeria. So even though there's this pent-up demand to come in and invest in Nigeria from both Nigeria, or three groups, Nigerians, the diaspora, and other groups, it's not quite actualized in a way that can soak up all the people. But in terms of industry, we have sort of been very clear. First off, it's a very large country. It's going to be larger in population than the United States in the not too distant future. We understand that. So every industry is critical. But the couple of industries that we've really highlighted for employment, the first one is real estate. So if you actually think about the way, say, the U.S. or Canadian economy developed in the 50s and 60s, what was driving it was residential real estate. Okay, when you build things, you have electricians, you have masons, you have plumbers, you have laborers, you have the caterers that feed them, you have all the building materials for, the average person's home is going to be using local building materials. And then once you buy a house, then you're going to be using, furnishing it with local materials over time. And that really drives a large amount of employment and economic activity, right? So the problem in our country is that the housing market is not working well. It's not working well because the complexities around land transfer. It's not working well because we don't have a labor market. It's not working well because we haven't sort of figured out a financing model and a system that sort of protects the buyers while they're waiting for the house to be built. And so that's the number one thing that we think could really unlock employment. And of course, there is work on it. I know that the Honorable Minister Fashola is working on a housing strategy. People are not unaware of this. But really also it's kind of a bit of a state matter, right? I mean, housing is real estate is a very local issue. And so we also need some changes to the Land Use Act to empower the states to be able to kind of do this more easily. So that's one issue. The second thing that we would raise in sort of the general economic thing is we were the ones who wrote the paper talking about dead capital. I mean, Nigeria is a rich country. Very rich country. I mean, coming from Canada, I come here and I'm astonished at the richness. Obviously, all the natural resources, the human resources. But perhaps the second biggest challenge we have economically is we have all these dead assets, and the assets of different type. One type is the real estate. The real estate is not productive. You can't sell So, for example, if you own a plot of land in Lagos and you want to sell it to go then move in with your sister and start a business, it's not an easy thing to do. So you can't monetize that asset very easily. But then we have other sorts of dead assets. I mean, another real estate set of dead assets, of course, is government real estate. So certainly you look around Lagos, there's a significant number of buildings that are owned by the federal government. There are moribund that are not being used optimally and on that. And then, of course, we have assets like the refineries or Ajaokuta Steel, where we're actually putting money in. The country is putting its scarce resources in to maintain an asset that's not providing a return. So in addition to the real estate, particularly residential real estate, unlocking these dead assets to us is hugely critical for the nation on that. And again, I think that's on the agenda. If you listen to the Honorable Minister of Finance, she talks about it. If you listen to the MD of the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, he talks about it, for example. I think a third thing to think about too, though, is just services. So globally, 70% of the world's economy is services. People tend to always think in terms of goods, but services are actually quite a bit bigger. And we've been saying for a little while now, maybe 18 months, that we have an advantage in Nigeria in services.
Yeah.
And we should be focusing on that advantage, particularly for the export market. So, we have the diaspora, which is an exporter of Nigerian brains. We're increasingly having businesses that can operate in Nigeria and export Nigerian brains. So the people don't have to leave Nigeria. So whether business processing, outsourcing, for example. We also have industries like financial institutions and Nollywood and cultural industries that are exporting, essentially high value added services. Yeah. So a third pillar for us is let's focus on services and not so necessarily be concerned about low end manufacturing.